tonight.
This was never meant to happen.
We hear from the woman at the center of a deadly fight at a Saskatoon nightclub. Also, after more than a decade of sitting empty, Regina's rail yards may soon breathe new life. Plus,
it's always tough to leave a group of guys you're with all year.
With a suspected NHL draft spot looming, Conor Bedard gives a final nod to his Saskatchewan fans.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, April 12th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. A Saskatoon woman at the center of a violent nightclub death last year is speaking out today. Paige Theriault-Fisher was initially charged with second-degree murder in the death of Hodan Hashi. That was later reduced to manslaughter, and yesterday the Crown stayed that charge. Dan Zakreski brings us the story.
My heart is with them, and it has been.
Paige Theriault-Fisher struggles to talk about the worst night of her life.
This was never meant to happen, and if I could give everything back, I would take that day back. And I really do wish Hodan was with us today.
But she's not. 23-year-old Hodan Hashi died last November in a fight with Theriault-Fisher. It happened at this downtown Saskatoon club. Bystanders recorded the fight on cell phone cameras and uploaded the videos to social media. Thousands of people watched the graphic scene. Tuesday, the Crown ruled Hashi's death accidental. Hashi's sister took to social media within hours of the family hearing from the Crown. Not one charge. She is walking away a free woman while my sister is buried 6 feet. Not a murder charge, not a manslaughter charge, not even an aggravated assault charge, not one thing. This is the value of black life in Canada. In a written statement, Public Prosecutions says it stayed the manslaughter charge because it was a mutual fight and there were no weapons involved. Investigators concluded it was an accidental death.
I've instructed Paige not to talk about the specifics of the event.
Theriault-Fisher's lawyer won't let her talk about what happened that night because there's an outstanding civil suit. Sharon Fox maintains it was self-defense.
I do firmly believe that if the shoe was on the other foot, the Crown would have still come to the same conclusion regardless of nationality, skin color, creed, religion, any of the personal circumstances facing them. The facts speak for themselves, and that is what the Crown assessed this case on, based on fact, not on skin color.
There's a lot of healing that needs to be done now, and these past 5 months, every day it's been really tough.
Theriault-Fisher says the experience has changed her. She no longer drinks or goes to bars. Her advice to others is to be careful in nightclubs and to learn from her story. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Prime Minister is accusing Western premiers of fear-mongering. The premiers of Saskatchewan, Manitoba and Alberta are slamming comments made by the Federal Justice Minister about rescinding the Natural Resources Transfer Act. The act gives the provinces administrative control over natural resources and land. Last week, the Justice Minister was asked by First Nations leaders whether he would rescind the act.
I obviously can't pronounce on that right now, but I do commit to looking at that. It won't be uncontroversial is the only thing I would say with a bit of a smile.
Premier Scott Moe says Lametti doesn't have the constitutional authority to scrap the act. Today, the Prime Minister weighed in.
The Minister of Justice said no such thing. If you actually look at his remarks, it is very clear that we're talking about the importance of the federal government living up to our responsibilities under UNDRIP, something that unfortunately the Prairie Premiers have not taken seriously, and they are instead trying to elevate fears that have absolutely no grounding in truth.
Indigenous leaders say First Nations weren't consulted when the Natural Resources Transfer Act was signed in 1930 and that it infringes on treaty rights. Thousands of federal employees could soon be on the picket lines. Today, the Public Service Alliance of Canada announced the results of what it calls an overwhelming strike vote. The union president says workers are struggling with the cost of living and need better pay.
These are not high-paid senior executives. The majority of our members are women making between $40,000 and $65,000 a year. Not the kind of salaries that can withstand being rolled back.
The main issue is a wage increase. To date, both sides are far apart, with Ottawa offering half of what the union is asking for. Canada's biggest union has until June to set a strike date. It could affect services like employment insurance, border and airport services, and Revenue Canada. The Treasury Board says Ottawa is committed to the bargaining process and has already made significant progress. Talks continue this week. It's been more than a decade since CP Rail moved its rail yard out of Regina's downtown. The space that was left behind came to be known as the Yards. It was pegged as critical to the city's revitalization, and yet nothing has been done with the land. But as Alexander Kwan reports, that may soon change.
There have been plenty of ideas tossed around about what to do with this piece of prime real estate owned by the city in downtown Regina. Yet the Yards has sat empty for more than a decade, and right now, it's not the most attractive amenity.
Well, for us, we've seen the Dust Bowl, as we like to call it, sit since about 2012.
On Wednesday, Regina's executive committee unanimously voted to develop the area over the next 10 years. These images reveal some of the ideas, and it doesn't appear the Yards will serve as a home for any of the city's upcoming mega projects, such as the new arena. The committee voted in favor of spending $100,000 to bring electricity and water to the area, infrastructure that will pave the way to exploring different ways to use the space.
An investment in our city centre is huge. It needs to happen. We've sat back and waited for others to step up and take that role, and they haven't. We recognize that we're likely the best organization at this point in time. We're nimble. We can activate this very quickly.
I think anything where you can have community gathering together or provide space for them to enjoy the outdoors or to promote different events going on in the city, be it food trucks or for them to host guests outside of their own space, I think all of that is positive for business.
The organization behind the proposal says if you make this space better, it will draw more people to Regina's downtown core, something it says is especially appealing to businesses located across from the Yards. The plan is to turn this entire area from gritty to pretty, and with a plan to also upgrade Dewdney Avenue this summer, some say it could help breathe new life into this entire area of Regina. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
It's the end of spring cleaning of guns in our province. Police forces across Saskatchewan have collected unwanted and unused firearms for the past 3 weeks. Nearly 270 unwanted and replica firearms were surrendered to police, and almost 4,800 rounds of ammo to go with them. The gun amnesty program allows people to turn in firearms and ammunition without fear of charges for unauthorized possession. The Saskatoon Police Service says it stops them from falling into the hands of criminals.
Although we can't necessarily draw a direct line to the firearm amnesty program and a reduction in crime, we certainly can say that firearms that are unwanted and unused and potentially being improperly stored, once removed from the place where they originated, are one less that we need to worry about on the street.
Once collected, officers check to see if the weapons are involved in ongoing investigations and are then destroyed. The Regina Pats are cleaning out their lockers for the off-season. Monday's Game 7 loss to the Saskatoon Blades marked the end of their season and the likely end of Conor Bedard's Pats career. Nicholas Frew reports on his tentative goodbye.
The Brandt Centre felt rather somber Wednesday at the Pats' last media event of the season. The team made the playoffs for the first time in 5 years, but were bounced in the first round, losing a tough 7-game series to the Saskatoon Blades. The final horn also probably blew on Conor Bedard's time as a Regina Pat.
If I get that honor, it'd be unreal, and I'd be super grateful to kind of people that have helped me with that. But it's a long time away, and for me, it's just kind of focusing on what I can do now to improve myself as a player and everything. So that would be unbelievable. But we'll see what happens, obviously.
Bedard's junior hockey career has been stellar. He's dominated the WHL and won gold multiple times with Team Canada. For months, Bedard has been the projected #1 pick in this year's NHL draft.
I'm not sure of the future or anything, so kind of just saying my thank yous to everyone. Whether I'll be back next year or not, but I think it's always tough to leave the group of guys you're with all year.
It's possible that Bedard could be sent back down to the WHL after getting drafted, but many in the hockey world, including the Pats organization, don't expect that to happen.
I don't have much doubt, personal belief that he's going to do it in the NHL, but I can't put him ahead of Solani or Chara or Alfredson when he's only 17. But the places that they are, I won't be alive when he goes into those places, but he'll do that, I think.
NHL teams each have 1 or 2 games left in the regular season, and the team that finishes last has a 25% chance of getting the first draft pick. The Columbus Blue Jackets are at the bottom of the standings, but the Anaheim Ducks and Chicago Blackhawks are only 1 point ahead of Columbus in the standings. Bedard will learn where his next stop is when the NHL draft starts on June 28th. Nicholas Frew, CBC News, Regina.
The Tony Cody First Nations Winter Games are underway in Saskatoon. The youth sporting competition is hosted this year by the James Smith Cree Nation and held at venues across Saskatoon. Athletes are competing in basketball, volleyball, table tennis, curling and badminton, and of course, hockey. More than 3,000 people from First Nations across Saskatchewan have traveled to the city to take in the games. The goal of the event is to give youth a positive athletic experience, helping them develop leadership and sportsmanship skills. The competitions are fun and intense. Hockey coach Kerry Smallchild says the atmosphere this week has been encouraging.
Everybody loves hockey here. Everyone. Everyone's glad to be here, enjoying themselves and watching all these talented players. I wish everybody good luck, and let's do good luck for all the people that are here, all the players, all the other reserves that are here. Good luck and keep on going. Never give up.
Tomorrow is the final day of the competitions. Well, things are getting loud at the Cooperators Centre in Regina. The Queen City is playing host to the 2023 Canadian Ringette Championships this week. The 7-day tournament includes 49 teams from BC to PEI and ends Saturday with the crowning of the national champions in the U16 and U19 categories, as well as the National Ringette League. But the weather is a bit warm for ice-related events. Heather will give us her forecast when we come back.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Well, Swift Current is in a state of emergency tonight. The city is worried about high water levels in the Swift Current Creek. The city declared the state of emergency last night at a special city council meeting. Sandbags are available to residents at the city service building. The mayor and fire chief say people in low-lying areas along the creek should be prepared to evacuate their homes. The fast melt has caused localized flooding in several rural areas, including washing out some roads. And Heather Morrison is here with a look at our forecast, and that water, Heather, is likely making travel pretty hazardous on those roads.
Yes, in fact, Ethan, there are multiple places on the highway that are washed out. This flooding isn't just localized to Swift Current. We know that Moose Jaw had a little bit today. And let's take a look at the highways in that southwest region of the province. So as you can see there with those little red dots with the white line through, that's where the highways are closed. Both of those are closed due to flooding. So that is Highway 4 at the intersection of Highway 13 near Pontex, and then also Highway 42 near Greenbrier and Lucky Lake. That's due to the water on the highway. But there was multiple other places on the highways that did have that standing water that made travel really difficult. Not all those dots are water. Some are incidents that happened today, but there still was a lot of interference. And there's a little bit of concern, Ethan, because there is more precipitation on the way. Now, I know that the spring runoff was a big problem there, but we also have other moisture coming in. Let's just start with what we're looking at right now. So if you look up there up north, they've been dealing with some snowfall overnight. I just don't want to forget about the north here. Make sure we mention that they've had that for most of the day. That's not going to be clearing out of that region until maybe the middle of the night. Now take a look at the southern area of the province. As you can see there, that green and that pink starting to climb in there. That's mixed precipitation and rain. That's a Colorado low, and as you can see, tomorrow by 1 o'clock, it's going to be fully moved into that region that's also already dealing with the flooding. They're saying in Assiniboia, we're looking at 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. As you move more north, there's going to be less snow, but there's going to be moisture there, adding to that difficult situation. And then it continues to move on, and Friday it pushes more north. We may even get dusted with it here in Saskatoon. Now, in terms of wind, we're not doing too bad here in the province. A little bit breezy up in the Churchill region right now. That wind that we were experiencing early today has died down and will die down overnight, and it's going to pick up a little bit in the southern region as that Colorado low moves in. Temperature-wise, we're doing all right. We're still a few degrees lower than we should be for this time of year, and we're actually going to see a little bit of dip, particularly in that southern region tomorrow, as we're going to be a few degrees below zero as that low moves in, and then the central part a little bit warmer, but we're still below normal for this time of year. We're not going to start seeing a warm up again until the weekend. So let's take a look at that 7-day forecast here for Regina. So as you can see, Regina is going to be scooped up into that precipitation that's coming into the province. So they got a high of +6 tomorrow, and then they've got a little bit of wind moving it in as well, and then cooling off a little bit on Friday, and then finally we get back to more seasonal temperatures by the weekend. And Saskatoon is similar, except we're not getting our mixed precipitation until Friday, and then we get our nice big warm up for the weekend there, as you can see, and then we're going to dip back down. So we're kind of coming in and out of spring here, but I will say, Ethan, we're going to be keeping an eye on this precipitation and how it's affecting the highways, other cities, but of course the people of Swift Current as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's good to look out for. Thanks so much, Heather.
Thanks, Ethan.
It's in my wallet since I threw it out last week. All the time, but somehow I just can't sleep.
Weyburn musician Braden King has quite a story to tell. Even though his American Idol journey has come to an end, he got the call to audition after a producer watched one of his music videos on TikTok. The country music singer made it to the top 55, but wasn't quite able to crack the final 24. He posted on social media that he's thankful for the experience and that it's just the beginning for him. We'll be back after the break. One of the key underpinnings of last month's Mass Casualty Commission final report was that more needs to be done to stop intimate partner violence. Nearly half of women in Canada will experience some form of it, and as the CBC's Katie Nicholson tells us, some alleged victims are calling for a national registry of offenders. And a warning, this item contains information that may be upsetting for some viewers.
Making a brew?
You have a tank, you drop stuff in the tank.
A couple's playful games night.
Feeding fish. Yeah.
But Amy Graves says the reality was much darker, especially the day she ended her relationship with Mike Poirier.
He pinned me to the wall, started choking me, gouging out my eyes, and he picked up the screwdriver, held it to my neck and said, "Do you want to die today?"
Graves says she managed to escape and took her allegations to RCMP. Poirier was charged with assault, choking, and forcible confinement.
I heard he's here.
And as Graves' 3-year journey through the justice system began, she got some unexpected help.
You don't know me and have no reason to, but I'm Mike's first ex-wife.
Mike Poirier has 3 ex-wives in Ontario, Newfoundland, and Yukon. They all describe tumultuous and abusive relationships, some of those allegations supported by court records. And they all found one another over the years. They even tried to warn Graves about Poirier through this direct message. Her relationship over, Graves finally responded.
They helped pull me out of that trauma cycle, I think that abuse cycle. I didn't know what it felt like, feeling like you're crazy and doubting yourself. So they helped me pull me out of that haze.
Graves started to pay it forward, warning other women about Poirier on social media, even as he racked up more convictions stemming from his interactions with women.
It seems like there was a hole in the system somehow, especially with online dating.
Graves and the ex-wives believe there should be a national intimate partner violence registry.
If women living across the country
can find each other to share information in a case about domestic violence on social media, it's surprising that we can't ask the same of our police.
But, says this law professor, it might be hard to create a national registry after the Supreme Court ruled the sex offender registry was unconstitutional last fall.
The government would have to carefully tailor it to avoid running into some of those same problems that the sex offender registry had.
As for Graves, she never got her day in court. The charges against Poirier were dropped in January when she couldn't testify because she was in hospital. Through his lawyer, Mike Poirier declined comment. There is currently a warrant out for him in BC for criminally harassing another woman. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
And if you are living with intimate partner violence, there are resources. Go to endingviolencecanada.org or sheltersafe.ca to find services in your area. And if you're dealing with immediate danger, if you can, call 911. And Heather is back now with one last look at our forecast.
Yeah, let's take a look at Regina overnight. It should be a pretty mild evening for this little Queen City here. So 0 is the high, and we've got a 30% chance of snow. So that's that Colorado low that might be moving in, and we're going to see +3 by the morning. So it's not too bad of a day in Regina, but it says +6 at noon and just cloudy. But that Colorado low is going to be sneaking in. It should hit about 1 o'clock in Regina tomorrow. In Saskatoon, also fairly mild night, though we are going to drop below that freezing mark. And then waking up tomorrow, we're actually going to be one of the warmer places in the province. So waking up to 0, but we should warm up to about 10. We're going to get close to that by noon. Though that Colorado low that's sneaking into the province, it should hit Saskatoon by Friday. And that's a last look at your weather, Ethan.
Okay, well, I'll just cling to the warm temperatures. Thanks so much, Heather.
They're on their way. They're on their way.
Good stuff. Well, as you saw there, our province is no stranger to extreme weather, so what better place to learn about how blizzards, tornadoes, and hailstones form and how they affect us? Well, the Saskatchewan Science Centre has opened a new exhibit that looks at just that, and we stopped by for a tour.
So today we are in our brand new visiting exhibition. It's called Wild Weather. Of course, in Saskatchewan, I think the #1 topic that people love to talk about is weather. And it's April. We're going to be in the midst of a weather shift to go from snow to summer. The most fun pieces of this exhibition is there's a dance up a storm activity. There's a or a summer thunderstorm activity where it'll actually rain a little bit in the room. And then there's a winter storm one where you'll actually get real snow in the room if you dance hard enough. There's a lot of video content for people to watch that actually gets really into a lot of the science. So there's a lot of like advanced learning opportunities available for you. We've got this snow tunnel that you can crawl through, and of course the dancing thing. And there's some interactive games where you can sort of work with the partner to learn about how sound and light travel at different speeds in a lightning storm. Weather is all around us, and I think sometimes we take it for granted, but we don't often think about all of the science that happens as we predict the weather, the impacts that it has on our health and safety in terms of extreme weather events, and of course it also encourages us to think about those and how we can be better prepared for it.
Lots of fun. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Heather and I will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching and have a great night.